This episode of Ladies Who Leap is brought to you by Pacific Business Partners. Pacific Business Partners helps women entrepreneurs replace the chaos of running a business with clarity, structure, and confident financial decisions. From bookkeeping and fractional CFO support to marketing strategy and operations, founder Angelica Wheaton and her team build the systems that let you finally step out of the day-to-day and lead. Learn more at pacificbp.com or follow them on Instagram at Pacific Business Partners. Welcome to the empowering world of the Ladies Who Leap podcast, where brave souls share their remarkable journeys of venturing beyond their comfort zones to craft lives filled with passion and purpose. What if the chaos in your home isn't actually about your home at all? My guest today has 24 million downloads, and she told me something that stopped me cold. This is not an effort problem. So what is the problem? Stay with me, because this conversation is going to change everything. I'm Lisa Andrea, this is Ladies Who Leap, and today we're escaping the quicksand. Hi, welcome to the Ladies Who Leap podcast. Today my guest is Lisa Woodruff, another Lisa. She is the founder and CEO of Organize 365. Lisa and 87% of Americans believe organization is a learnable skill. Yet less than 18% of those same Americans feel they are organized. Only 18%. As the host of the top-rated Organize 365 podcast with 24 million downloads and counting, very impressive, Lisa shares strategies for reducing the overwhelm, clearing the mental chatter, and living a productive and organized life. And we're going to talk about her new book. So welcome, Lisa.
Thank you so much for having me.
I'm excited for the audience to learn about your book and the framework to help others. But first, and I always start with this, I want to talk about the little Lisa when you were young and ask if there was any particular person or experience that had an influence on what you're doing in your adult life today.
You know, I think the biggest influence on what I'm doing today would have been my mother. And what a mother does is very invisible as you're going through life. And it's only through reflection I can really see the specific things she did, not in mothering, but in living her own unique purpose around me, was really the most influential thing. So when I was in second grade, we moved when I was in kindergarten from Columbus to Akron, where I was raised in Akron, Ohio. And my mom worked up the street in the basement of a neighbor and helped her with this clothing company that she had, where she would send these cases of clothing out throughout the United States and ship them back. And my mom helped inventory all of that. Then in second grade, my mom decided to start her own company in our basement, the kind of tag teamed on that. And this would have been in the late 70s. Back in the late 70s, women wore slips under their skirts and, nightgowns, nice nightgowns, and they would get them embroidered and all of those things. So my mom's company was called The Fine Line. And in the late 70s, early 80s, like the department stores stopped carrying really nice negligees and slips because the market for those was decreasing. And the women that, my mom's English, and so they had slips, and she would want a slip, in white and black and ecru, and she would want it in 17 inches and 19 inches and 21 inches. And slowly the department stores were only carrying one color and one or two lengths, not all the different lengths that would match all of your different skirts. So she started that company in second grade when I was in second grade. And then in eighth grade, she sold it. And when she sold it to a woman in Pennsylvania. And I thought we went on a week-long trip to Pennsylvania. No, we didn't. My mom packed me and my sister up in the car, and we went and we stayed at the woman's house who bought the company while my mom trained her all day long on how to run the company. And we just played with her kids. We thought it was a vacation, and we came back and my mom had sold the business. So when you think back on it, it was just like our everyday lived experience from second grade to eighth grade. But she literally started, grew, and sold a business while I was in grade school. And I was there all along the way. Like my sister and I earned money by putting things in the UPS book. And when she sold it, she had representatives in 26 states.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Talk about a foundation for someone to, especially as a woman, to see your mom be an entrepreneur. That is fantastic. Oh my God. That's a great foundation to build for you in the future. And then kind of talking about how organized she was. I mean, she was able to take the kids, Go to that person's place, train them, and just and make it seamless for her children. That's phenomenal. I have to give her a lot of credit for that. So on Ladies Who Leap, we do talk about leaping.
Mm-hmm.
So what would be your most impactful leap you've taken in your life, and why?
So that would have been the year that I turned 40. So I went to college. I got a degree in early childhood education and elementary education. I was a teacher, ultimately adopted our children. I was the stay-at-home mom I had always wanted to be. And then we needed me to earn some income for the family. So I went back to teaching, but a teaching schedule didn't really meet our family's needs with the needs our kids had at the time. So I couldn't do a job like that. And so when the middle of the year when I was turning 40, I quit my job. And I was like, well, I need to do something to earn money. I was already in multiple direct sales companies and cleaning people's houses and doing all the different odds and ends in order to bring in money. But I needed to make a significant income. I needed to really, come along my husband and be a more of a financial contributor. So I sat on my bed and I thought about all the various jobs I had done in my 20s and 30s. And I realized that in every single job, I either organized someone or I was organized. And so I started the company Organized 365, no idea how I would make money, just knew it was a good SEO term, and started blogging. And I really took that heritage that my mom had of starting that business. I thought this is my business to start because while I'm a fourth generation female college graduate, which is very unusual and something that I knew was unusual, I realized at that time I was also a fourth generation entrepreneur. All of those women actually started their own companies. My great grandmother owned a floral shop. She owned a restaurant. They lived above the restaurant. Like our family, like that's not normal, but in our family, it is normal. So I just thought it was normal. I was like, okay, Lisa, it's time for you to start a company that will probably employ people and will be a significant income generator. But I had no idea what that would be or how it would work.
My gosh, that whole background, that is very
I know.
unusual. I have interviewed a lot of people and asked them those questions, and most of them say, well, one generation was an entrepreneur and it was my father, or nobody was. So it was really scary. And I usually ask, what gave you the courage to be able to do that leap? Well, you just answered that. You had the courage of four generations of women
Yeah.
behind you. I mean, talk about, and I actually work on clearing and releasing generational trauma. This is the exact opposite of that. You
Yes.
want this to continue on and into your children because it's a positive thing. It's not a negative thing. It's not a negative trauma or anything. So taking that very first step wasn't
Mm-hmm.
really that difficult for you.
Well, it's so funny. It was though, because all the men in like my dad and my grandfather and even my husband's father and stepfather are all salesmen. So they're used to, like you eat what you kill. Like if you can't sell it, you don't get to eat dinner. My husband's not that way. Like he's an employee mindset. So he's had the same job since the day after he graduated college. He went to work for his stepdad. The company has been bought and sold 5 times and he still has the same job. And he supports salesmen as an inside sales guy. He's one of the best in the industry. He's been doing it 35 years, but he likes, consistency, security, knowing that this is how much we're going to earn. And so he's used to like, you work this much, you get paid this much dollars per hour. I'm very entrepreneurial. And so while I was raised that way and the men in our family were that way, my husband wasn't that way. And so I was trying to find, how can I find more stable income to add to what my husband's stable income was. And I really realized that my income has always been variable. He wasn't asking me to do stable income. So I thought, well, I'll just try this internet thing. It was 2012. I'd already had a blog before this. So I kind of knew how it worked. And I was like, you can earn passive income. It's never passive. But I need to be able to earn more money than I can actually work hours. Like I knew that was for sure a thing. And how could I do that? Because the needs of our family were exponentially growing and our income was not exponentially growing.
Wow. So that's a little different. Again, Lisa, this is something different that I've not really
Yeah.
heard is that you had the entrepreneurial spirit. You know,
Mhm.
knew that you could do this, but you had to overcome your
Yeah.
husband, your partner, someone who really has to be on board with you. How
Mhm.
did you do that? When did he finally come around?
So
How?
my husband has always been on board. So I told him I was quitting teaching in December, and he knew that the teaching job was not working for our family. I was up at 5 a.m., going to bed at midnight. He was taking unpaid time off of work. I was taking unpaid time off of work. The household was a wreck. The kids weren't doing well. And I said, I'm going to quit my teaching job because I think this will solve a lot of these problems. And he's like, but that's like an income. So I wrote my resignation letter. I brought it down to him. It was a Thursday night. I'm like, read this because he's watching Thursday Night Football. He reads it. He goes, fine. So I'm like, I'm really quitting. As I go upstairs, he's like, okay, fine. So I come on Friday. I'm like, I quit my job. He's like, all right, well, you better go find another direct sales company because you know how to make money that way. Like a couple of things. One, he has always paid the mortgage. So when we didn't have enough money, it wasn't enough money for all the extra things I wanted to do for the kids' wellness and travel to see his dad at the beach or whatever. Like the mortgage, the car payment has always been paid, the health insurance always been paid by my husband. So I don't have to worry about that. This was for the extra. But at the same time, we needed the extra. Like some of the extra wasn't becoming optional. And he did have a belief that I'd be able to figure it out. Like I'd be able to save money somewhere or barter or like earn extra money. I'd always been able to make the household budget work. And so he just kind of left me to do that. He's kind of shocked at what this became, I'll be honest. But he was just like, whatever, just go do your thing.
Oh, I love it. I love it because that's somebody who's supportive. Even though it's not something he
Yeah.
could grasp, he really trusted you. And I'm sure he knew your family and he could see what they had accomplished in their time
Yeah,
in being an entrepreneur so that he trusted that you could do the same thing. So your latest book, and I believe, am I right? It's book number 6?
it is.
It's book number 6. Okay.
Yeah.
It's been a true labor of love of yours, I believe.
Yeah.
It's called Escaping Quicksand. It's a great
Hmm.
title, especially because when we spoke, I didn't fully understand what it addresses and why. Can you explain the message and the information you shared, how it brings out the importance of the root cause of disorganization?
Yeah. So this takes me back to when I quit my teaching job. So it's December of 2011. And literally, the only thing that was going for us was that we were married and we were committed to our marriage because the kids' health was not great. The house was trash. Even my administrator said I wasn't a very good teacher, which is the thing that just pushed me right over the edge. And I was like, okay, well, this is the only thing I'm putting my effort into. And I think I'm doing well. So if I'm not doing this well, then why am I sacrificing my marriage, my house, and my children? Because no one else could be the mother to these children. And I'm obviously not meeting your expectations in this job. So okay, I'm going to stop doing this job and I'm going to go meet the expectations of my children no matter what, like, because I'm the only mother that they have. So I was down at the bottom of the pit of despair because we were in the most debt possible. Luckily, my husband's had that job since the day he graduated college. So we have great credit because we're old, because I was turned 40, but he was 45. So we had great credit. So we just kept running the credit cards. And what I realized was that I needed to make that pivot into who I was going to be because I couldn't live another 40, 50, 60 years in this reactive lifestyle, but yet I had to stop everything in order to turn it around. And as I stopped everything, I realized I was sinking even deeper. I was sinking into the quicksand of my life. And I was like, how? Somebody needs to come save me because I don't know how to do this. And I looked around and all my friends who are also turning 40 were also having similar experiences. Like the complexities of your 20s and 30s just keep mounting. And now you go into your 40s and you're like, wow, I am not equipped to run this household and the extended family. My parents had divorced. My father had passed away. We'd settled his estate. I was like, wow, this hashtag adulting stuff is not getting any easier. It is getting harder. And I grew Organized 365, helping people get organized and developing systems for the household. But this book, Escaping Quicksand, is what changed in my mindset in that decade where I was in my 40s. I mean, you see the company grow, you see the house get organized, you see all of those things. But what actually happened on the inside for me to be able to make that stick? Because I'd gotten organized in my 30s and before, and I'd get organized and then unorganized, organized and then unorganized. But now I'm a different person. I know how to not get back into that quicksand. I can recognize when it is coming. And
Wow.
these are the mindset shifts. Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm assuming because I haven't read it yet, but I have it, so that's I'm wanting to read it because I thought it was more about how to organize, everything on paper, you organize your
Right.
your stuff or whatever. No, no, no. This is
No.
how to get to the mindset where you aren't overwhelmed. I mean, this is a way to get out of the
Yeah.
feeling of being overwhelmed. And gosh, I can't even explain anybody who isn't in that sense. I mean,
Yeah.
if they aren't, they're a very good Zen person because most
Yeah.
of us are definitely in that quicksand. You speak about different methods. I think one of them is called Swiss cheese organizing. So, what is that?
Yeah. So one of the mindset shifts is that you have to change the order in which you organize your house, not the effort you put in. Ladies, you are putting in enough effort. This is not an effort problem, it's an order of operations problem. So when you get overwhelmed and you're anxious and you're like, I need to take back this house, and then you go in and you clean out your refrigerator and you clean up the family room and then you go clean the kids' toy room, what are you going to do next weekend? Clean out the refrigerator and clean up the family. Like, you're doing it over and over and over again. What I suggest you do is that you not do that for a period of time. I call this planned neglect. This isn't in the book, but I talk about it in my podcast all the time. Planned neglect. For a period of time, let's say it's going to be a whole month, you are not going to pick up the kids' toys and you are not going to pick up the family room. And instead, you're going to go do your closet and your bedroom and your bathroom, because if you spend 1 month doing those 3 spaces, they will stay organized for 4 to 6 months, at least, if not longer. Now you can go back to organizing the family room and the kids' room and the refrigerator, and your bedroom, bathroom, and closet are going to stay organized. If you can stand it and you can ignore those shared spaces even longer, go do your storage room, then go do your paperwork, then go do your spare bedroom and your home office and your laundry room and all these other places. Because when you get these places organized for the phase of life you're in, because you're going to need to keep changing them for your phase of life, they will stay organized. When you organize your storage room the way I organize storage rooms, which is not in this book, but is in my program, your storage room will be organized for life. You can literally move from one house to the other and the storage room will move completely organized, because I create a prepaid store. It's not just boxes down there. So that is the thing. Take the time that you're using to organize and move it into the invisible spaces in your household. Get those organized. And then when you're done with that, usually takes about a year or so, then organize the kids in the family room and the kitchen, and your whole house will be organized. And then when you go take back your house on a weekend, your whole house is totally organized, not just the visible spaces.
We'll be right back after this message.
Have you ever felt that you should be further along in your life, but something inside you keeps holding you back? I'm Lisa Andrea, founder of Ladies Who Leap Coaching, and I help women over 40 quiet that inner chatter and rebuild self-love and self-trust at the subconscious level so they can finally move forward in their life, relationships, and business. Because when a woman truly trusts and loves herself, everything changes. She chooses better opportunities, creates healthier relationships, and actually follows through on what she wants. If you're ready to leap or know a woman who is, go to ladieswholeap.com and click on the Let's Connect button to set up a call.
Now back to the show.
And you're mentioning kids and family, and I'm single, so it still applies though. As you're talking, I'm like, okay, so because I keep looking in my closet and I'm like, okay, because normally I was having it organized by color and then by long and by tops and by this kind. And I mean, I had it all organized and it got away from me. So it's funny that you're saying that, because now I am going to focus on my on my closet. And it's, what's interesting is when I redid my office a couple of years ago, repainted and, took furniture out and put this, the things on the wall and the bookcase, and I got some help from a friend, I felt calmer.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I felt different. And it was in December, and I had taken a little break from the podcasting that I do and everything. And then I come into January in a new year and I was like, oh, I feel so much more freedom, and I feel I can breathe. And sure enough, the next year I did the same thing for my guest bedroom. So I remodeled that. It took a little bit longer. It was more like in January, but it was in time for someone to come visit. And then my brother and my sister-in-law came. So it is like this beautiful room now, but I focused on it and it's done. And again, making me feel like, okay, one less thing off the checklist. I love that. Can you share? I mean, I'm sharing just from the information you just gave me that it's going to transform my closet and my life. But can you share a story of someone that listens to your podcast or read your book that made a big impact in their life, that they actually shared what it is that how it affected them?
Yes. And also, I'd just like to affirm what you said. You said you are a single woman. My sister is single as well. She was in the company with me for quite a few years, and we had the same exact 40-year-old experience. So only 17.9% of the United States population is married with children under the age of 18. So more than 80% are not organizing toy rooms. And I'm glad that you point that out. And I really address that in the book, that this is a lifelong experience for women, not just when you're married and not just when you have children at home. So it is a female lived experience. So as far as transformation, I have so many stories I can tell, but I'll give a bathroom example. So when I started Organize 365, for the first 6 years, we did in-home professional organization in Cincinnati. And I remember going to organize a family, a woman actually, she was a single woman. And we went into her bathroom. Her bathroom was huge. I mean, it was huge. It had a shower, it had a walk-in tub, it has a huge linen closet inside of the bathroom, double vanity, and she lived alone. And there was just so much stuff in that bathroom. I mean, she didn't use the bathtub. She used it as if it was like a car trunk. It was full to overflowing. The linen door didn't shut. Everything was flowing out. She did use the shower, but boxes were piled right up to the shower and beyond. It was just full, full, full. And I say that because I found that in more homes than not. In so many homes, and it surprises you, but it will not surprise many people listening. You get your kitchen and your family room and your entryway presentable for when people come over, but the clutter ends up in the spaces that other people don't see. And that's where you live. You live with all that clutter. I know for myself personally, my bedroom became that way. I felt like a hamster living in a hamster cage. And I was married with young children. So the things that ended up in my bedroom were things that I didn't have the energy to put all the way downstairs in the basement storage, projects that I was in the middle of. And I'm a projectaholic. So there were a lot of those. Anything I didn't want the kids to see and touch, paperwork wise. Any gifts that I had bought the kids that I was hiding, which was real easy to do because there was so much piles, they would never be able to find it. Like you had to make a path to get to my bed because I had so much stuff in my bedroom that was in process and I didn't want it in the main living areas of my house. I say that because once we got through this bathroom, 95% of what she had left because it was either expired or she never really liked it or she didn't want it or she didn't need it. Once we got that bathroom totally clean and organized, it was like a breath of fresh air. And in the book, I give you explicit instructions on how to organize the bathroom. It's the only space that I give you instructions on. And then I tell you to carry that over into the closet and into your bedroom and really take the effort to organize those three spaces for you because those are the spaces that only you see. And they're the first and last spaces you see every single day. And those are the ones that really make you feel organized. Live an organized life as you're going to bed and as you're waking up. And eventually you get to the point where you're like, this feels great. I want this everywhere. And that gives you some of the motivation and the effort to move on to the other spaces.
Yeah, I can imagine you're feeling. I mean, I got that sense when I redid The Office. You get this feeling of accomplishment and ease and just a weight off your shoulder
Mm-hmm.
that I was like, okay, now I got to do this other room. And I did. It's interesting that you talk about the bedroom and because that was my pack rats. I had everything shoved into that closet.
Mm-hmm.
But once I got into my garage, which is a detached garage, but I remodeled it and it did take a year. Part of it was, having to fire the first person and then getting breast cancer. It's just a long story. But
Yeah.
once it's done now, I use it as I actually siphoned off, I think it was 5 or 6 feet in the back with a nice wall and a door. And I
Yes.
now have a storage area for
Yes.
everything. And it's clean and it's nice and even has a rod so I can put, coats and things so that my closets are not
Yes.
in the house bunched up. This is literally away from anybody that sees it unless I show them my closet in my area in the garage. And then the rest of it is TV, place where I can watch TV or somebody can go out there by themselves, workout, yoga, all that kind of stuff. And it just, when it was finally done and my closet, I was like, wait a minute, this closet is a lot bigger than I thought it was because I didn't have too much stuff in it. And now when I go to put new things, I mean, I clean out my closet a lot and give away clothes a lot. I'm a big donator of clothes, like at least 3 times a year.
Yeah.
But as I put new stuff in, there's room. I mean, I actually go, oh, and I move things over. I go, oh, there's a lot of room in here because I stopped that whole mindset of packing everything in there and not really finding its place or getting rid of it. I got rid of so much last year, things I hadn't looked at in years. And I have a little bit of a saying, if I haven't worn it or looked at it in several years, I'm getting rid of
Right.
it. it's gone. I don't have that big attachment to things like some people do. And I know a lot of people have that. I'm not sure. Have you dealt with, and I would think maybe you have, the people that have the issue with departing with stuff? Is that something that you've had to deal with?
Yes, obviously. I mean, when you're doing in-home professional organizing, even though they're paying you for your time, I had one client that had great difficulty getting rid of anything, and literally nothing actually ever left her house. She did have hoarding, and I am not trained in that. So I did pass that job off to someone else who is trained in that. But I think in general, like when you're getting rid of a lot of things, like we all have these emotions that come up like, oh, I regret having made that purchase. I didn't even use that item, and I wish I had had that money back because now I could use that money some other way. Or this item still has value. Can I get any of the money in order to use it for something else? Or this item still has value. Can I give it to somebody else to use so it doesn't possibly end up in a landfill because I don't want to be part of, ruining the environment? And so those are all natural thoughts that we all have as we're going through our house. And so often when I was doing in-home professional organizing and charging a pretty penny, I would say, okay, yes, right now, another saying I have, we have planned neglect where we're not going to do things for a period of time. I also would say, okay, we made some mistakes in the past. We are going to give ourselves grace. And for X amount of days or time, we're just going to get out every single thing that we don't want. We're just going to go ahead and donate it wherever we think the best place it is for it to be donated. And then we're not going to repeat this in the future. But for right now, we're just going to donate it all or trash it all or whatever we're going to do. And something that I found is that if you rent a dumpster, most places now that you rent dumpsters from, you can load everything into the dumpster. And when they take it away, they do recycle, donate, and, as environmentally positively as they can, get rid of everything that is in the dumpster. So they will take care of it for you.
Oh, wow. That's fantastic.
Yeah.
I even had a piece of furniture that I was like, I don't think I can sell this, but the guy who I paid to take it apart, it was one of those big IKEA frames with the drawers underneath and everything. I didn't need that anymore. He said, no, go to Habitat for Humanity and donate it there. So that's exactly what I did. They came, they took it. It was fantastic. So you do have a podcast. You've talked about it a couple times, Organized 365 podcast. I'm going to go back and look at my notes. I saw the word million, 24 million downloads. I don't know how many years you've had it. Is it you giving the tips, or do you even interview people also? What is that all about? Because I want people to be able to add it to their list. If 24 million downloads have happened, it's a good podcast.
Thank you. 3.5 years or 11 and a half years. So a long time. I've been talking for a long time. And so I've always had a Friday podcast every single year for 11 and a half years. There was a year or two where I did a Monday book review. I think that was in year 4. For 6 years, I had a Wednesday podcast interview, which is where I would interview somebody that was going through the Organized 365 programs, and they would tell what phase of life they were in and what they'd done. But the Friday podcast has always been just a solo thought leadership podcast. So in the beginning, it was, how to organize your spaces. And I was in my 40s, going through this entire struggle with everyone else. But now that I'm in my 50s, I have a much broader view of different compositions of families. I'm at the end of getting my PhD. By the time you hear this, I will already have my PhD in applied psychology. So I'm looking at how we manage our households from an efficiency and an economic lens versus the gendered lens that's currently being discussed in academia, and getting ready to do some scientific studies on the products that we've created at Organized 365 and then replicate those studies to see if they significantly impact executive function in the households.
This is a science. This isn't just something that you just created to help people. This is a true science, and you're getting your PhD on it. I love it. Oh my gosh. Here I was when I first interviewed you and we were talking about it. I had like this tiny little idea of what you were doing, not knowing it's just massive. And I told you, I don't want to know. I want to discover it on the podcast because I'm like totally impressed, and the word flabbergasted comes out because this is really, really important. It really affects how you feel, because disorganization is kind of like a sign of a disorganized mind. And when you have something like that, it's kind of giving you an indication that something's up, something needs to be worked on, something needs to be released, your mindset needs to be changed. I love it. Now
We'll be right back after this message.
This episode is supported by Pacific Business Partners. Here's what I love about Angelica and her team. They don't just hand you a spreadsheet and walk away. Their fractional CFO service is for the founder who's outgrown DIY but isn't ready to hire a full-time finance leader. Monthly strategy calls, cash flow forecasting, pricing analysis, and someone in your corner helping you make the big decisions with real numbers behind them. If you're scaling, planning a launch, or just tired of guessing what the data is telling you, visit pacificbp.com.
Now back to the show.
Now, I am going to ask this. Every once in a while, we need help, and we need someone to give us some support. So I'm going to ask, who is it that you lean on? Because I want women, especially, to understand that you can ask for help, and it's not a sign of weakness.
So, I would probably have answered this differently in the past, but the company's 14 and a half years old, and we moved off of Facebook 3 or 4, maybe even 5 years ago. I don't remember when we moved off of Facebook. And we moved off of Facebook mostly because I have a membership course. And once you buy a product, then you're in the course for life. And so we do like co-working time, and that's where all your lessons are. And I was doing that inside of a Facebook group. And some people didn't want to be on Facebook. And I was like, well, they bought this course and now they don't want to go where I'm delivering the assets that they just purchased. So I created my own app. That's why I created my own app. Well, because it's my own app, it's private. Like the only way you can get into it is if you've paid to get into it, or if you do one of our free challenges. So we have your email. Like, it's not like people can just voluntarily get into the app on their own. And so I honestly go to the people in the app. So this is coming out in July, right? And we're recording this at the end of February. So I'll tell this little story and then we'll see in July if it worked. Okay. So I went into the app and there are over 10,000 people in the app. And I was like, hey, I really want to get on Jenna Bush's book club. So does anybody here have a contact with Jenna Bush? And a couple people thought they might. It turned out they didn't. So I was going to a website, Blackberry Farm in Tennessee, and I was going to buy a gift card for someone, for them to, anyway, I was going to make an introduction. I knew they liked Blackberry Farm, so I went to the website to see if I could buy them a gift card there. Well, sure enough, this is in December, and it said that Jenna and Barbara Bush were going to Blackberry Farm in January for a sister summit. Only like 40 people are going, and you could just pay to go. And I was like, well, this is a sign. So I paid. It was a lot of money. I paid and I went, and I took one of my employees with me as my quote unquote sister. I have a sister, but I just took somebody in the company with me because our goal was to meet Jenna Bush. And I thought there'd be a lot of people there. Well, there were only 50 people there the entire weekend. And this was during the ice storm that then turned into the huge ice storm in Nashville. So we're in there on Saturday and we know we have to leave early. And once we're at Blackberry Farm, I go into my app and I'm like, you guys, I'm at Blackberry Farm with Tanya and we hope to meet Jenna Bush. And my audience is like, okay. So the next day I'm like, hey, you guys, I met Jenna Bush. She signed my book. And she gave me the name of her chief of staff, who was also at Blackberry Farm. And I went and I met her. So then I came back and I followed up with the chief of staff a couple of times. And then she said I could send my galley copy to the Today Show in February. My book comes out in June. So after I screamed and told the team, I went live in the app. I was like, you guys, I get to send the galley copy up to Jenna Bush. Maybe they will look at the copy. And of course, I sent 4 copies and I sent signed copies and all of that. So what I say is, like, when you do what you're uniquely gifted and created to do, and you put yourself out there and people start to come alongside what you're doing and they understand your mission, these become your people. These are my best friends. My best friends are the people who are in my app. And it may seem silly. And I'm like, I can't believe I'm telling this. And now I'm telling this on the podcast, but we'll find out if I ended up on the Today Show or not. I've done all that I can. And everybody's so excited. So when I was at Blackberry Farm, I did the second video. There was someone came on the app and they commented and they said, I thought you were nuts. I thought you were nuts to ask us if anybody knows Jenna Bush. Obviously, none of us do. Then I thought it was nuts. So you were actually thinking you were going to go meet her. So you went somewhere. Now you've met her. And this is before I even got to send the galley copies to the Today Show. And she goes, I cannot believe, I just can't even believe like I'm watching this in real time. I just can't believe it. Now, if you go to Blackberry Farm, I'm sitting at the table. Jenna Bush is directly behind me. And I'm at a table of 6. And at this event, you are always, you are at a place that they have your name at a place and you don't get to choose where you're sitting. So I've been talking at lunch. It's like a 2-hour lunch. I've been talking to the woman catty corner to me and my employees sitting next to me. And then there are 3 other people at the table. And I'm talking the whole time. And they made the announcement that, some of us are going to leave early, like me, because the ice storm is coming and I had driven there. And so they're making some changes. And I realized that this was probably my last shot to go over and ask Jenna to sign the book. So the person next to her gets up, and I looked at the person I'd been talking to. I said, how rude do you think it would be for me to turn around and ask Jenna and Barbara to sign my book? They go, no, 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 that's why you're here. Go do it. So I stood up, I spun around, I talked to Jenna, and she passed the book to her sister. And then I came back and I sat at the table. Now here's if you've been listening, you're like, oh my gosh, Jenna Bush, Jenna Bush, Jenna Bush. This is the important part. The person across the table from me said, because you did that, I am going to talk to the owner of Blackberry Farm for my daughter to get an internship here. You don't realize who is watching what you are doing. If you're doing the right things for the right reasons and following your intuition and just going along, you are an example to others and you don't even realize it. So as we're getting ready to leave, Jenna and Barbara and the owner of Blackberry Farm and another guest was there, and they had their little talk early, and we're like going to book it out of there, and a line forms to get their picture taken. So I scoot up in that line, and Jenna's going, we got to go, we got to go, we got to go. Then she goes, oh, come on, come on, come on. Because she just loves people. And she just wanted to have the pictures taken. So we have the picture taken. Now I've got my picture taken. I'm walking down the aisle, and I run into that woman at lunch. And I said, did you ask her? And I turned over to the owner of Blackberry Farm, and she's talking to someone, and she goes, it's happening right now. Oh, I got chills. I just got chills.
Oh my
God. When you say, who do you help through these tough times? You guys, sometimes you will create the community that you need, and they will be your best friends. I say to people all the time, like, I know these people's names. I've watched the orders come in. It's not like we have thousands of orders come in. I know who orders from our company. I know who participates in the app. I know who shows up to planning day. These are my friends. These are my friends. Oh, so I go to them.
I love this. I'm getting tingling just listening to you, because again, what you're talking about makes so much sense, but I have actually not heard anybody say that. This is the first time I've heard someone say that. You create your community. You create the people that will support you, because you are doing what you absolutely love and are made and called to do. And so you're attracting the people into your sphere that are going to be the supportive people. They're the right people. They're your people. And so of course you would. Oh my gosh, I love this story. I'm going to use it as a little teaser in the beginning of the podcast. Okay, everybody listening, this is probably the second time you're hearing it. Okay, so now I always ask at the end for your favorite quote, mantra, or positive affirmation. What is that to share?
I always give a different one. Every time people ask me, I always give a different one. And I already picked one out for this podcast. And now that the podcast is over, I could see why I picked it out, but I didn't know when I picked it out. So the thing that came to mind when you asked me was, what goes around comes around. My dad would always say that. What goes around comes around. And even in that story, and I wanted to say, I don't care if I get on the Today Show or not. I don't care if I hit a New York Best Time Seller or not. And by the time you're listening to this, we'll know if either of those things happened. I really work as if everything depends on me, and then pray as if everything depends on God. And I don't care what the outcome is. I care more about the effort. And I have that in my book. You're a person of excellence. You're not a perfectionist. So what goes around comes around. When you give and do out of just whatever you're supposed to do next, without worrying about how it is going to come back to you, it comes back to you tenfold. And often it comes back to you in a completely different way that you didn't understand. So if you're going for the Today Show and see Jenna Bush on TV, that may not happen. But you know what? Something else equal or better could happen, or not, or you could get both things. You just don't know. So I just always work as if, whatever I am giving out will come back to me, and I don't worry about how it does.
That's why I always say, come from your heart. If you're heart-centered and you come from your heart and you don't expect anything in return, you just want to be there to be able to help someone else and share the knowledge that you have so that they can better their lives, your job is done. Yeah. And again, you will be rewarded for what you did in other ways. And it's not for you to designate. It's for God, the universe, higher power, whatever you believe in. They're watching you. They got your back.
Yes.
I'm going to say, how can people reach you? If you give me just one spot, because it's hard for people to remember on podcasts, but I will share everything, including links to your new book. Please, how can people reach you?
Everything is at organized365.com. Organized365 is, the podcast, the Instagram, it's all Organized365.
That's easy. You're organized, Lisa.
I'm trying.
Everything that you have online is organized. That's perfect. I really, really want to thank you for being on the Ladies Who Leap podcast. This has been very enlightening, and I love that you've shared things that are a new way of looking at things. And it was really informative, really inspirational too. So thank you for that.
Thank you.
Everybody, please like, subscribe, do all those things so that I can keep doing what I'm doing, because I absolutely love sharing these wonderful women's stories and leaping out of their comfort zone. It's just fabulous. So thank you for listening and or watching on YouTube, and have a great day.
Thanks so much for listening to the Ladies Who Leap podcast. This episode was brought to you by Pacific Business Partners, helping women entrepreneurs build businesses with clarity, structure, and soul. If you're ready to take the next leap, learn more at pacificbp.com or follow at Pacific Business Partners on Instagram. I'll see you in the next episode. Remember to like, follow, and subscribe to the Ladies Who Lead podcast.